Hey folks, Lachlan here, a South African living with quadriplegic cerebral palsy. As diplomatic relations between South Africa and the United States of America have steadily begun to collapse, particularly within the last 6 months or so, there has been a steady narrative coming from both the African National Congress, our ruling political party, and the corporate media here locally in South Africa that Trump is simply bullying the South African government in order to get his way. But as with most things, it's far more complicated than that. So let's get into it. Firstly, I would be dishonest if I didn't admit that the United States, as a global force, has a history of using its military might to enforce its will in other countries around the world. That is undeniable, and it is true. However, in the case of South Africa, the ANC is lying when they claim that Trump and his administration are bullying this country. Because let's look at what the United States has actually asked of South Africa in order for healthy trade relations to continue. When Ramaphosa, our president, went to the White House with a South African delegation to meet with Donald Trump, the requests were simple. Trump wanted Ramaphosa to acknowledge that there is a problem in South Africa with regard to the violent killing of white, particularly Afrikaans farmers. To this day, the ANC flatly refuses to acknowledge that white farmers are being targeted and claims that anybody who says so is a racist who is simply spreading misinformation. Ramaphosa even now goes around publicly, both in South Africa and beyond our borders, claiming that there is no targeted attack against white farmers and that there is no persecution of white South Africans at all in this country. Both of those are blatant lies. And our corporate media, which I am by no means a fan of, has basically become the propaganda wing of the ANC. Because I have worked in emergency services and in media myself, dealing often specifically with farm murders and their consequences. And I can tell you from first-hand debriefings, when farm attacks occur, which they do, they end violently with a degree of savagery that is not seen in what you might consider regular crime. When our media reports on farm attacks, they generally refer to them as robberies gone wrong. But if you look at the brutality that is often employed in these attacks, such as elderly people being tied to chairs and beaten to death, or being tortured with boiling water, or a man's wife being raped in front of him before he is murdered. You can't look at things like that and tell me, oh no, those were just robbers looking for valuable goods to steal. There is an element of willful cruelty that takes place in these attacks. And so that's why Trump has been demanding that the ANC government acknowledge that this is an issue which we need to deal with, which the ANC still refuses to do. The other requests were that the ANC condemn the leader of the economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, for his repeated performance of the chant, "Kill the Boer." I've said it before on this channel, but Boer is the Afrikaans word for farmer, and it also refers to Afrikaans people as an ethnic group in this country. So some Boers are farmers, but every Afrikaner can be called a Boer. The ANC, for its part, has refused to condemn Julius Malema singing Kill the Boer, even though its lyrics are a direct call to genocide. Malema gets away with this because the chant Kill the Boer has a history in the anti-apartheid struggle as what they refer to as a struggle song. So that is why Malema is legally permitted to perform the chant in public. But if a white person or any South African of any other ethnic group were to perform a chant comparable, only with the target being black people, they would be imprisoned within a week. I'm certain of that. And so that is why Trump was asking for that chant to be condemned. And then, from an economic relations point of view, Trump also set the stipulation that if South Africa wants American businesses to trade and to be fruitful in the South African economy, then America should be exempt from the legislation we have, which is called Black Economic Empowerment. Under Black Economic Empowerment legislation, the ANC sets literal numerical targets for how much of any business in this country that employs 50 or more people should be owned by black South Africans. Yes, to be clear, that means specifically that in South Africa, if you have a business that employs 50 people or more, and it is not owned to the degree that the government decides by people who are usually politically connected within the ANC itself, then you will be subject to fines from the state and you will not be given access to government contracts. And so that was the main trade restriction that Trump was complaining about. Because, in his view, and rightly so, there is no reason why American companies who want to do business in South Africa should have to hand over a significant amount of ownership or control of their companies to politically connected people who have a long and detailed history of simply milking businesses for their own personal enrichment and doing nothing to grow or develop the economy. So, given all this, is it fair to say that in the case of South Africa, Donald Trump is being a bully? No, I would say not. But of course, our communist ANC friends see otherwise, and they will continue to claim that America is racist, imperialist, and of course, evil because it is capitalist. As always, I hope that you find this video useful. Look after yourselves, take care of one another, and for now, farewell.